Welcome to Inner Love Trauma, a channel dedicated to helping those who have experienced toxic and narcissistic abuse in their lives. My name is Charmaine, and I am a thriving, aware super empath who has been certified as a trauma-informed life coach. Through my personal experiences and training, I have gained the knowledge and skills necessary to guide individuals on their journey towards healing and recovery. My hope is that through my channel, you will find the support and resources you need to begin your journey towards healing and recovery. Remember, you are not alone in this journey, and there is hope for a brighter, more fulfilling future. Thank you for joining me on this path towards inner love and healing. Today's topic is about triggers. I was shocked to find that clutter can be a significant source of stress for many people, as it can create feelings of overwhelm, anxiety, and helplessness. When our surroundings are disorganized and chaotic, it can be challenging to focus, relax, or feel productive. Let's talk about it. Before we get into this discussion, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more valuable information. Identifying the triggers of your clutter can be a useful first step in managing your stress. For example, you might notice that you tend to accumulate piles of papers when you feel overwhelmed by work, or that you let your laundry pile up when you're feeling depressed or unmotivated. Once you identify the triggers of your clutter, you can start to develop strategies to manage them. This might involve setting aside regular time to declutter, creating systems for organizing your belongings, or seeking support from a professional organizer or therapist. By taking steps to manage your clutter and identify the triggers that contribute to your stress, you can create a more peaceful and productive living or working environment. Regenerate response. What is clutter? Identifying what triggers your stress. Clutter can be found anywhere. It can be seen in your home with the junk drawer or with dishes piling up in the sink. It can be seen at work with the cluttered state of your desk. Clutter can be seen through piles of clothes on your floor or the stack of mail you've yet to go through. It can even be seen in your mind with all the stressful thoughts you have. Simply put, clutter is the mess of items that are strewn across your space without any sense of order. Some may associate the word clutter with trinkets and lots of decorations around your space. While this is true, that isn't the kind of clutter we are talking about. Instead, we are talking about the clutter that causes messes and therefore a chaotic mindset. Clutter builds up over time as more and more objects are added to the piles. Clutter can look like a junk drawer that is filled with things you haven't seen in ages. Piles of clothes that keep building up from you not doing your laundry. Items that you don't use anymore being shoved in different spaces of your house. Having several items because you must replace the item after losing it. Dishes that pile in the sink until you no longer have any. Your house is so messy that it would be difficult to straighten up before guests come over. If your house resembles any or several of the points on the list, that is a good indication that your space has become quite cluttered and that your mental health may be suffering because of it. We are not judging if your house or workspace looks like this. Everyone has experienced a cluttered space at least once in their life, and there are many reasons why your space may get to this point. When your mental health is not the best, it makes it so much harder to prevent and remove the clutter from your space. This creates a vicious cycle where clutter builds up in your house, which makes your mental health worse. But because your mental health is worse, you have less motivation to clean the clutter. Instead, it continues to build. This leads to a sense of losing control. For many, not having control is a huge stress trigger. People like having control of their lives and space. With lots of clutter and not knowing where everything is, that becomes stressful. Also, it can be quite stressful when you are trying to make your way through a cluttered house, but end up stepping on some painful clutter left on the floor. We now know that clutter and the loss of control that comes with it triggers stress in many people's lives. However, how does that stress present itself? The impact of the stress from clutter. Stress leads to numerous detrimental impacts on the mind. The stress that comes with clutter is no exception. With clutter, it leads to difficulty in focusing. It is hard to focus on getting one task done at a time when everything is a mess. It prevents you from moving from one task to the next in a sensible order. Each piece of clutter acts as a distraction until your mind is overwhelmed by everything around you. You will also experience a worsening in procrastination. With all the clutter that you are surrounded by, your mind gets overwhelmed by all of the mess. By being overwhelmed, the idea of decluttering seems so much harder to do than as a coping mechanism. You will procrastinate cleaning up. However, by procrastinating on the task, the clutter problem continues to get worse and even more overwhelming. This procrastination translates to work procrastination too. How could you possibly get work done when there is clutter everywhere? As stress builds from clutter, so does the damaging stress hormone, cortisol. When your stress levels climb, this leads to health problems if the stress is unchecked. The health problems that you can face include digestion problems, heart problems, insomnia, type 2 diabetes, weight problems. It can seem extreme to say that a cluttered home can cause all the problems listed above. However, because clutter has been linked to increased stress levels, your body will be in a constant state of fight or flight. Even though this fight or flight is at mild levels, the damages that happen because of it will not be mild. Let's take a step back and see how you could have gotten to this point. A cluttered home and a stressed mind don't happen overnight. Instead, it happens from a mixture of triggers and a series of events that brings items into your space and doesn't let you get rid of them. Let's go over what could have led you to the cluttered space that you have. Sentimental value. One of the most common ways that clutter builds up is the refusal to get rid of certain items because of sentimental value. Keep in mind, we aren't talking about the necklace that has been passed through your family or the outfit that you got from your favorite person that you've worn a million times. As humans, we can find sentimental value in so many things. You might have a shirt that you haven't worn in years, but it was the shirt you wore on a first date that you can't bear to part. You may even find sentimental value in old homework assignments if you have recently graduated from school. However, just because something has sentimental value, that doesn't mean that you need to keep it. You don't need to keep homework assignments from years prior, and sometimes you have to let go of clothes that you never wear anymore, even if it was from a fun day. When you hold on to the things that you don't use for the sake of sentimental value, you clutter your space and therefore clutter your mind with the things that you don't need. But what if I need this? Another common cause of clutter is the fear that you will need something in the future. These items tend to be found in the junk drawer stashed away in a closet. In some cases, wondering if you will need something in the future is necessary. For financial and legal documents, you should put more consideration into whether you'll need them in the future or not. In many cases, these legal documents should be kept under the idea that you may need them within the next 7 years from receiving that document. Then there are the items that you definitely won't need in the future. Crafty people experience this problem a lot. You'll find an item and you'll think, I can make something with this, and stash the item with your craft supplies. However, years later you look at that same object that you haven't done anything with. These items build clutter and should be removed. Gift guilt. Have you ever been given a gift that you don't have a use for but feel too guilty to get rid of it? This is something that everyone has felt at least once. However, this guilt about giving a gift a new home means that this item is taking up space in your home, which leads to a buildup of clutter. Cards are a huge contributor to this. So many people hold on to birthday or Christmas cards out of guilt of throwing them away. However, this will build up in your desk or a drawer and become stressful clutter, buying things you don't actually need. It is highly normalized to constantly buy things. New gadgets are always being advertised as making your life so much easier, and that you can't live without them. Then, when you cave and buy the object, you get a few uses out of it before going back to the way you used to do things. Now you have another gadget that you don't need cluttering your home. Buying stuff that you don't need not only hurts your wallet, but also hurts your mental health as you add stressful clutter to your home. What causes the stress in your life? Bad shopping habits aren't the only thing that may be causing clutter stress in your life. Sometimes stress causes clutter. Work can be a huge contributor to both clutter and stress. Imagine that you are at your desk and suddenly your boss drops off a ton of paperwork to get through by the end of the day. This adds both stress and clutter to your space. You have a huge task dangling over your head and a bunch of papers is covering your desk. Another situation that will build clutter is when you become stressed about completing a project. When you put all your focus toward a project, taking care of your space becomes a secondary priority. By the time you complete the project, your stress doesn't end because now you are surrounded by clutter. Be aware of what is causing the clutter and stress in your lives. Is the stress coming first or is the clutter? Knowing what is causing the clutter and stress in your life will help you figure out the best path for removing both the stress and clutter from your mind. Thank you for watching. Watch this next